Chapter 2 The Suffering Lessons of the Tuelinh Life Form. Although Nalas Nalanda walked lightly and leisurely, the children still had to walk as if they were running to catch up with their respected father. The bright lights from the precious stone on the ground and the colorful lights from the flowers and trees mingle with his aura. All create the purity, majesty, and wisdom of his compassion. After magical moments of light and aura from him blending into everything, he suddenly stopped. In front was the door, where several mature Tuelings were on duty to guard that door. It could be a secret door or inside, and significant things must be protected. So there were adult souls on duty to protect them. When he walked up to them, they bowed and greeted him. "Father, do you need to come inside?" He just smiled and gently nodded to indicate his agreement. At that time, the children accompanying him becomes curious. They did not know what father would show them inside the door. They looked at each other and couldn't hide their nervousness and curiosity. 5-colored light shines through the crack in the door when mature Tuelings gently open the secret door. The iridescent lights and dazzling white light cause the children to momentarily cover their eyes with their hands. When they take their hands away from their eyes, in front of them is an exceptional space. They followed Nalas Nalanda to go deeper inside. The children immediately cheered. "It's so beautiful! Dad, why haven't we been here before? Why don't you let us play here?" They looked bewildered as the dazzling white light and interwoven iridescent rays radiating from the smoky black quartz crystals. Those quartz crystals were as small and as large as the body of a mature Tueling. Those crystallized rocks are everywhere in the vast cave. They are on the ground, on the walls, and on the roof of the cave. This is a large and magnificent cave, and it contains rare stones. Nalas Nalanda stood waiting for the children to approach him after they ran through the cave to observe those miraculous rock crystals. A moment later, when they came to him, he said to them, "You have been in this place. You have lived in this place." The children were surprised and asked, "Dad, you said we used to live in this place, so why don't we know? Can't even remember this place." "Of course, you cannot remember that. My children, this place is called the place that nurtures and creates Tuelings from yin and yang energy embryos. Children are also raised and born from those black rock crystals. I call this place the Quartz Crystal Cave, and they were created by me right after I created this paradise. Only here is this rare type of quartz. In addition, each planet in the universe also has one inside its core." He replied, Then he meditated and looked at those magical stones. The children were looking forward to his lecture, but did not want to distract his attention from those precious crystals. Because of that, no one spoke out loud. Everyone looked at the rock crystals as if they had some magical attraction. After observing the rock crystals, he sat down on the ground in the middle of the space of the cave. The children seemed to know he was about to lecture them, so they immediately sat down around him. Then he said, "Children, today I will teach you about 2 important lessons, which is why Tuelinh will have to incarnate in human bodies in the human world to practice. The first lesson, I will tell you about how you were born. Hey, children, look at the quartz crystals. Inside, there are embryos of yin and yang energy. Each embryo has the smallest positive energy particle linked to the smallest negative energy particle. Each yin and yang energy embryo will be placed in that rare quartz stone crystal. The energy of each stone will nourish and protect the yin and yang energy embryos after they are placed. This means the yin and yang embryos are nurtured in the best environment by the beautiful energy in each stone. In addition, they are carefully guarded and protected. Each yin and yang embryo is different in its internal nature, and the embryos are not the same because the information value encoded inside each smallest energy particle is different. That will create differences in intelligence and cognitive abilities among Tuelings after birth. The smallest positive and negative energy particles are born after a long nurturing time. This process takes place over a long time to create more energy particles. At the same time, the yin and yang energy embryo membrane is also peeled into many layers to help transform the original yin and yang embryo into a mature yin and yang embryo. At that time, the original yin and yang embryo had the 2 smallest positive and negative particles in the middle of the mature embryo. In the original positive particle, the positive intellectual wave codes are stored. Simultaneously, it is copied into the smallest positive energy particles and moved to the outer positive pole. In the original negative particle, the negative intelligence wave codes are stored. At the same time, it is copied into the smallest negative energy particles and moves to the outer negative pole. They store the smallest yin and yang energy particles at the yin and yang extremes. When they are increased in number of particles, they will join together to form a composite positive and negative energy particle. To be linked, the smallest energetic particles must have the same or similar information content inside the particle, and they will link between positive particles and negative particles together. They then move outside the adult embryo to form the first 16 energy composite structure, including 8 negative particles rotating around 8 positive particles in a 1-to-1 ratio. The neutral particles will make the task of bonding between the synthetic positive energy particles. When the yin and yang embryo structure has the 16 expanded particles, which means starting more than 16 particles, a Tuelinh baby is officially born. To create a connection between the smallest yin and yang energy particles to create Tuelinh, it must be an energy particle with a super complex intellectual wave code. I will teach you when you are more mature. Hey kids, it's not easy to go from original yin and yang embryo to a mature yin and yang embryo and then a baby. Completing this process takes a very long time in the safest environment. This cave is the safest environment created to nurture and give birth to Tuelinh's being. Children, please cherish your presence and live in this paradise. Hey, children, I tell you that there will be an intellectual wave code inside each negative and positive energy particle. Each strand of intellectual wave code stores all information about the circumstances in which those energy particles were born, including images, vibrations, emotions, ideologies, and actions of the generating subject in those particles. The information inside is the secret, the essence, the wisdom of each Tuelinh born from the original yin and yang embryo. Therefore, each Tuelinh cannot know its nature, its inner secret, even when we have not created a living environment on earth and brought Tuelins to incarnate as humans to practice. I still do not fully understand the nature of Tuelins. However, up to now, I have been a fully enlightened being and have had the best path to save the Tuelins and this universe to become sustainable. The second lesson I teach you is about destructive energy particles. If you want to understand this type of particle, you will need to practice in the human world. You must experience suffering and become more mature. Then I will explain them thoroughly for you to understand. Children call it destructive energies because they will disintegrate you, other Tuelins, and the entire universe. After being decomposed by them, you will no longer have life. Other Tuelins will no longer have life, and this universe will no longer have life. They are truly deadly to the universe and Tuelin life form. When the destructive energy moves to and disintegrates the Tuelins and all things in this universe, the Tuelins will have then feel pain and suffering because the destruction is taking place. You will feel helpless because controlling or destroying that energy is impossible. The same is true for all things when the energy of destruction penetrates and disintegrates them. For the Tuelinh life form, being penetrated and disintegrated by the energy of destruction is the only suffering in our existence. Those sufferings will only end when they completely disintegrate every single Tuelinh. Why did destruction energy attack Tuelins and other forms of matter in the universe? That's because the energy of destruction does not have a connecting mechanism like us and the universe, so they exist in the independence of each ultimate single particle. When they move, the heat in them is generated quickly and overloaded. They face the risk of being detonated by too rapid heat generation. Therefore, they need to find physical structures of Tuelins in the universe to remove excess heat from them. This excess heat causes the structure of Tuelin and the universe to disintegrate, thus destroying energy that integrates the universe, and Tuelin is also a way for them to save themselves. You must be aware of this destructive energy. They are shaped like the smallest energy particles in the universe, but round in color. They were born before the universe and exist outside of our universe. In particular, they are present throughout the universe like storm of destructive energy. You will have to stay away from those places because once you move in, you will be decomposed immediately. Children, the energy of destruction is also a source of heat. To have energy particles in the universe to be separated and linked together, allowing the universe and Tuelin life form to be developed sustainably. However, we must understand and know how to control them. When you can control them, that is the moment when you have grown up. You have become immortal because you can attract them and convert them into heat to produce new super energy particles. It is precious for the sustainable development of the universe and each Tuelin itself. Hey kids, when I teach you this information, your yin and yang embryo will receive and store it. When you incarnate as human to practice, that information will be transmitted to the human brain to create the necessary response to the information in the human world, so that you will have to face. When you understand, you will easily overcome suffering in the human world. This is very important. Keep it in mind. One of the children immediately asked him when he stopped preaching, "Father, so we have only one suffering, which is being disintegrated by the energy of destruction? Is there a time when the destructive energy disintegrates you?" He immediately smiled and gently replied, "They cannot disintegrate me because I am already a fully enlightened being. I can take them and transform them into super energies. I can even move into their habitat, and they never decay me. One of them continued to ask, Father, so we must understand ourselves first? Then we can learn how to control the energy of destruction, right, Father? Yes, that is correct. To understand yourself, you must live in an environment opposite to this wonderful environment in paradise, the living environment of humans on earth. That environment is nothing but suffering. Only suffering can help you understand all the secrets within yourself. Only then can you learn to control and transform the destructive energy. Then he said, so you understand why incarnating as human to practice in the human world is the mission of every Tuelinh. That is the mission to liberate the suffering of you, Tuelinh life form, and the whole universe. After the children listened, they seemed immersed in the contemplation because the information they have just learned was vast. The thoughtful expressions on all the children's faces make them speak to encourage them. Your mind relax with games. Another day, I will teach you other lessons. Then he and his children came out of the cave that nurtures and produces Tuelinh. The children follow him with gentle steps and thoughtful faces.